You want to train MMA, but you don't have an MMA club in your area or in your city. What should you do? Stay tuned and watch this short video. Hi, my name is Mark Leithner from MMAcoach.net, where we help coaches, fighters and enthusiasts reach their full MMA potential. Today I have a question from, let me check just a second, from a YouTube user called Chain Smoker or Schmoker, something like that. He says, I'm 17 and I live in Kashmir. There is no MMA center. What should I do? Okay, I get this question a lot. A lot of people ask me this. First of all, I'm going to give you a few things to think about, and it will be, of course, up to you to proceed with some of them or not proceed at all. First and foremost, you should know that even though your situation doesn't look very good because you don't have an MMA club in your area or in your city, you also have a lot of potential. You have a lot of opportunity just because you don't have a club. What do I mean by an opportunity? I will get back to that later, but just so you know, one day when you train MMA, if you learn MMA from someone else, you can open up an academy in your area, in your city, and be the only one or one of the few who has an academy there. And you can serve a lot of people that way. You can have a good job that way. So that's your opportunity. And I'll explain that in more detail later. First thing you should know is that many people started out as pioneers, meaning they didn't have MMA in their city. So they had to travel around and learn from different people, or they had to bring experts in, pay them for seminars and learn from them, and then start their own clubs. My suggestion to you is that you should first start training what you already have in your city that's connected to MMA. It can be boxing, it can be kickboxing, maybe wrestling, maybe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you have kickboxing or Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, maybe take up those two sports first. And once you spend a few years training those sports, you will have a basis to proceed with your MMA training. Then when you get some experience in those sports, you can start traveling around and learning MMA from different people. Now, if you want to start traveling immediately, you can do that, of course, but I would suggest that you get some basics first, basics in wrestling, jiu-jitsu or boxing or Muay Thai. That way you will be able to retain much more knowledge. Your travels, your trips will be much more fruitful when you already have the basics than if you were to travel immediately. And I'm guessing you don't have any basics. I'm guessing, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that you still haven't started training at all. Now, once you get those basics, you start traveling. You start learning MMA from different experts. This is a time for you to explore where is the nearest MMA club. Is it in the city, maybe close to yours? Great, you can take a bus once a week, twice a week, once a month, it doesn't matter, but you should go and train there. Is it in a different country? If it is, maybe you need to save up some money and go spend a month there or 2 months or whatever. I'll tell you my story, how I did it. I started training MMA in 2005, and MMA was already there in Serbia, but it was very rudimental. It was very embryonic, to use that term. So there were MMA clubs. I did train in an MMA club here, but it was nothing like in America or nothing like in Europe, in Western Europe. So I had to travel. So I traveled. I was fortunate enough to meet my coach from Sweden, August Wallén, and I traveled to Gothenburg, Sweden, where I learned MMA and BJJ from him and from other experts as well. So I spent there like 2 months for the first time. Then I went back to Serbia, spent a few months in Serbia, and then I went back to Sweden for a month, and so on and so on. And I learned a lot. And when I got back home, I could use what I've learned, train it with my guys, and help them improve as well. And that way you help not just yourself, but you help others. In turn, those others become better sparring partners for you, so they can help you. So it's a circle. You can do a lot of good by traveling and learning. But what happens if you don't have a club like I did? Maybe you're thinking, okay, you at least had a club in your country. I don't have nothing in my country. Okay, then, as I said, start with what you have. Start with boxing, start with wrestling. If you don't have anything of that sort, then that will be a problem, but it's not an insurmountable problem. You have to ask yourself, how bad do you want this? Do you want to train MMA like you'd like to train it, but it's not the end of the world if you don't? Then you are mostly thinking about it recreationally, which is fine, and I have nothing against it. I exclusively train recreational people. But if you really have a burning desire to give MMA a try, maybe to compete one day, if that's all you can think about, then it might be a good idea to think about relocating, moving away from your country, moving away from your city perhaps, maybe not the country, maybe from your city to another city, to a bigger city that has an MMA gym. Think about that. Maybe you're now 17, maybe when you want to go to the university, maybe that's the time to move. So I don't know your entire situation, but I'm just giving you something to think about. And to get back to what I started with you opening up an academy eventually. Maybe you're thinking you don't want to become a coach, you just want to train. This is fine, but trust me, when you start training people, you get better at MMA. You get better at everything because you're forced to explain to people, to find ways to explain to people the techniques and the strategies, and that makes you a better fighter, not just a better coach. It makes you a better fighter. You get a better understanding of the sport. So I would highly suggest that you travel around once the time is right, once you get enough basic techniques in the fundamental sports that make up MMA. So then travel, get back, open an MMA club, start a business maybe, you're going to earn some money, and you can build up your guys, you can compete together, you can organize events. There are many, many possibilities. And one more thing, very important thing so I don't forget. Oftentimes in adversity lies opportunity. So you don't have an MMA club in your area. You can become a coach and earn some money, make a business, make a name for yourself. Great, that's an opportunity. There is another opportunity. I had to travel to Sweden to get expert instruction. And I could have thought to myself, oh God, I only have access to him very irregularly, maybe 2 months at a time, 1 month at a time. But that actually forced me to write things down, to become better, to use the Kaizen principle. And I already did the video on that. You can check it out up in the cards or in the description below. Make sure you watch that video. It's the most important principle for MMA training, Kaizen. This is why I named my academy Kaizen MMA Academy. So the fact that I didn't have experts on regular basis forced me to become more analytical, to write things down, to go into depth for every technique, for every position. It improved me a lot. So you can do that too. It doesn't matter that you don't have an MMA club in your academy. And it has never been easier in the entire human history to gain knowledge if you really want to. You have MMA instructionals online, not just mine, you have other experts as well. You can buy those. You have tons of free videos on YouTube, both on my channel and in other channels as well. If you only follow those, like if you only find free videos and train, you will have improved a lot. If you buy instructionals, great. It's good to buy instructionals because you can get, it's more structured. That's the main advantage of instructionals. On YouTube, techniques are all over the place and instructionals are structured. So it's up to you now. If you haven't started training, start training immediately. Ask around what are good clubs in your area. And I also traveled to a neighboring city which is 80 kilometers away to get Muay Thai instructions. I did that once or twice a week. So there are no excuses. If you really want to train, you will do everything in your power to train.
If you want to master MMA fundamentals, check out my instructional called MMA Essential Lessons. In it you can learn about clinch takedowns, boxing, grappling, Muay Thai, ground and pound, Thai and puppet master clinch, escapes from inferior positions, and shooting takedowns. Check out the link in the description below.
I'll give you one more example. George St. Pierre used to travel all the way from Toronto to New York. He took a night bus. I think he would sleep in the bus to go during the weekends to stay in New York and train jiu-jitsu at Renzo Gracie's academy with John Danaher. So there are no excuses. He did what he had to do, and then, the rest what happened to him. And I'm not saying everybody will become a champion just by traveling around and learning from different people. But I am saying that you will improve a lot. If you like this video, like it and share it, and you can also subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like to take your MMA training further, check out my instructionals. My name is Mark Leichner from MMAcoach.net, and I will see you again very soon.